bit of a trick that works in the city. It kind of works like to keep people at bay or to keep them from being too much. Because there's a lot of weird activity that goes on subways, or I don't ride the subway any longer, but in supermarkets. And if you sound a little bit crazy, like as if you have Asperger's or some sort of Tourette's, you know, it actually kind of tones down some of the weird forms of stalking or in-your-face stuff that goes on in supermarkets or maybe on the subway. People are happier. Like, if you seem a little crazy, they might back off and leave you alone. This has been a little city trick that was developed over time. Right, like, so I just noticed it worked, and technically, if you live in a city long enough, you kind of adopt a certain way. Do we want inside or outside? You kind of adopt a certain way to get by, adapt, or what have you, and you know, it kind of works. What are we doing? Straight over? It reminds me of like Pinocchio. I got no strings to hold me down. I got no strings to hold me down. There's a famous actor named Bill Pullman, I think. He's from like, right, Durham, Bill Durham or something like that. And he might have that name for a reason, like maybe he learned how to sort of handle situations or people. It's okay, you know. Work has to get done, movies have to get done, and sometimes handling is part of the process to hurry up and get a good scene or what have you. Or maybe they need to rush through a courtroom scenario, and all of a sudden people are talking at warp speed, and it's like, what? I don't even know how I said that. And it could be just there's someone's helping move things along really quickly because they're on a timeline. They already know the problem, they already know how to fix it, they need it to be, you know, legit, if you will, and go through the legit process. Barricades here, I'm not sure what for necessarily, unless they're here impromptu in case anything pops up. The ICE riots that, you know, went big, you know, in other cities, LA, Chicago, even Austin. I almost wanted to say autism. Maybe, I forget where else. Minnesota, maybe. Probably Portland, maybe Seattle. Philly didn't have that much of a situation, just a little bit, but not a big one, considering we had the No Kings, but so far, so good, I guess, on that front. So, are we cut through, or? Unless you like all the excitement, the issue would be, you know, it's more about safety, nothing crazy happening. And making sure no one winds up in serious trouble that they wish they hadn't gotten. I know that sounds a certain way, like when people want to fight for rights, it's like they'll do anything, you know, they get all passionate and everything. I totally get it. But sometimes some people are baited and set up to be a little bit more radical than others, and it's disturbing because there are people who wound up there who are heavily influenced, and then they wind up with a serious case on their hands, and they're having to eat vegetarian food in a vegetarian, you know, jail. You remember that guy from the insurrection or whatever? He was able to say that he had a special diet, vegetarian, They did move him to a special facility because of it. But this is some guy who basically just took to community college, like community colleges wherever he came from, and he would be one of these people who talked a lot and everything about, you know, politics or what have you. And that's really it. And he wound up in the middle of this major historical manufactured event. There were politicians who were seen as instigators for this. So the thing is, like, the politicians didn't wind up in a serious, you know, high security prison, because they didn't wind up right at the Capitol building breaking in. They were way back at the starting point. You see the difference? The charge is quite different, you know, from one end to the other. So my concern is that people who don't have the same valuable resources, education, and this, that, and the other, get stuck with the worst charges. And those who have all kinds of connections, money, and everything else are just riling people up and not putting themselves on the line like everybody else. So that's why I sound that way. I know other people are like, I would do anything, you know, I totally get it. Until you have to put up with, you know, a major case. And, you know, like jail time or something. Nobody wants that. No one wants that. It's the worst thing to happen to anyone. And a lot of people get set up to wind up there. So, you know what I mean. It's an awful feeling, and no one wants to spend a lot of time in a icky situation like that. So, free dentistry. I dated a guy a long time ago, and he had a brother who offered free dentistry to prisons because of it was part of like his education, if you will. And don't want to go this way. Anyway, you know, it's no joke, but some people might, you know, I guess if you really need it. But no thank you, you know. Just break his camera and make sure that nothing turns out. You know who he is, get his number, and mix it out. They do to me. So sunset is quite a distance. It's like 3 hours away, probably 2.5, 3 hours. But we are past the longest day of the year, so it's only uphill from here in terms of days getting shorter and feeling a little better, and so forth and so on. In terms of not having long, hot, drawn-out days. It gets so humid